Hello and welcome. I hope that you are having a fantastic day, and I hope that you're getting ready for the upcoming holidays. Today in the cryptocurrency news, we're going to talk about Bakkt is launching cash-settled futures and options. I have talked to a lot of people that have been waiting for Bitcoin options to become available, and here they are. So let's get into it. I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. This is my opinion. I'm not smarter than you. You are smarter than you realize. Do not trust what I say. Do your own research. And as always, it's a good idea to read the rest of this disclaimer that I'm providing you. It's not there for my benefit. It really is there for your benefit. You need to be careful with cryptocurrency and consider the substantial risk of loss that you are engaging in if you choose to invest in cryptocurrency, because you can lose everything you invest. You can also make a lot of money. And so the reason why I'm involved in creating YouTube content and creating these videos for you is because I want you to make money and I don't want you to lose money. And so I want to do what I can to get the best information I can find out there to help myself make more money and to help you make more money with your cryptocurrency investments. But always be aware, there's greater risk with cryptocurrency than there is with any other financial asset that I know of. So that's why I think that this announcement is really a double-edged sword, because options allow you to leverage your investment in cryptocurrency. And while, yes, you might make even more money in a shorter period of time, you can also lose more money in a shorter period of time. And so be very, very careful if you choose to engage in the options contracts, because cryptocurrency is extremely volatile. I mean, just look at this chart. It goes way up and then drops right back down to where it came from. And that's very common. It's common to see cryptocurrency pump up 10 times higher and then drop back down 80% and show an 80% loss. So be careful, be wise, and take your time. Don't be in a hurry, but be watching the markets and learn from your observation and be prepared to take the time to study it, to study those who are good traders and who have really been traders for a long time, not just in cryptocurrency, but preferably in stocks and other assets. Anyway, I'm kind of I'm going to get off my soapbox and we'll get on with today's informational article. The Intercontinental Exchange, ICE, is cryptocurrency's venture Bakkt. So let me explain this. ICE is the company that owns, and that's short for Intercontinental Exchange. ICE is the company that owns the New York Stock Exchange. They also own 12 other exchanges around the world, some in the United Kingdom and some in other countries, as well as the New York Stock Exchange. They created a crypto exchange called Bakkt, and Bakkt actually launched initially September 24th, but they have now just launched a new product called options contracts and cash-settled futures contracts that use its physically settled Bitcoin contracts as a benchmark. In a blog post published today by Bakkt's COO, Adam White, Bakkt compared the Intercontinental Exchange's Brent crude oil futures, which it claims are one of the most important contracts ICE would ever offer, to its ambitions regarding Bitcoin. The ICE has launched a number of swaps, options, and futures contracts based on its crude oil product. By starting with the physically delivered Bakkt Bitcoin USD monthly futures, we have a benchmark contract which provides the foundations for us to develop complementary products based on the needs of our customers. And so actually, before I make my comments, they're actually going to talk about some of this. So let me go ahead and keep going. Bakkt's initial trading volumes for its physical futures contracts were rather low, but have been picking up lately, with the monthly futures contracts trading over $120 million so far. Bakkt's options contract is the first regulated by the U.S. Commodity Futures Trading Commission, the CFTC, to hit the market, with one from the CME expected to be launched next month. So the bottom line is, when Bakkt launched on September 24th, its volume was, they traded 5 and 6 and 7 Bitcoin a day. It was really low, and it has grown since then. It's grown to where they're trading several thousand Bitcoin, but when you compare that to other exchanges out there, they're trading hundreds of millions of dollars of Bitcoin daily. In fact, oftentimes there's right around $1 billion of Bitcoin traded on a daily basis. And so with that kind of volume happening in other exchanges, looking at Bakkt's volume today, it's extremely low. But I have a feeling it's not going to stay there. And that's why they're talking in this article about the Brent crude oil futures, because they're using that as an example and a pattern for where they're going to take Bitcoin. And so while options and futures just got released now, we can see that they will be introducing a host of other products in the near future. I've heard people talk about how the Bakkt exchange is evil and how one of their intents is to destroy cryptocurrency, and I've never agreed with that. I know that they feel, Bakkt is evil because they supported Donald Trump. I don't think them supporting Donald Trump has anything to do with whether or not they're going to be good or bad for cryptocurrency, because they obviously wouldn't have invested $500 million and 4 years of development in order to launch something that they were just intending to be destructive. That's a crazy large investment for somebody that's as greedy as the people who run the New York Stock Exchange. They're professionals at making money. In fact, the people who run the New York Stock Exchange are running a $9 billion a year business, and they are, I don't remember the exact numbers, but if I remember correctly, they have somewhere around 40% gross margin on their products after expenses. They are masters at making money. They're not going to make an investment like that in order to just throw the money out the window. No, they're making an investment like that because they see a long-term future, and B, they want to milk it for every dime they can make out of it. And so while some people feel that from a philosophical point of view, that's a bad thing, and I'm not going to get into the philosophy or philosophical perspective on the whole thing. I just know that these guys are whales. They have deep pockets, and what they do is going to have a significant impact on the crypto market, whether I like it or not. And so my best position is to be well informed on what they're doing today and anything I can learn about what they plan on doing tomorrow, because if I want to let that influence my decisions so that I can make better decisions that are based on a more accurate view of reality, because the reality is, whether I like it or not, they're here to stay. Anyway, on the post, Bakkt noted its monthly options contract will have no exposure to spot markets. Options are derivative based on the value of the underlying asset that give the contract's holder the option to buy or sell depending on the type of contract they hold, the asset. Now, the last thing that I wanted to point out here is something I've mentioned before, but it's coming in the near future, and it's another one of those things that Bakkt is planning, because Bakkt is also looking to launch a crypto consumer app next year, with Starbucks being its first partner on it. And so this will be for consumers, and it'll be so that they can go into Starbucks and use Bitcoin to make purchases. But of course, Bakkt isn't going to stop with just Starbucks. They're going to go out and try and get as many retailers as they can to use their consumer app. Now, we all know that Bitcoin is fairly slow in doing transactions. And so the only way that this kind of an app will be successful is if they find a way to do lightning fast transactions. I don't think that Bakkt is going to use the Lightning Network. Bakkt has an enormous custody service, and I think they're going to use their own custody service and some of the back-end software that they've built in order to process these transactions quickly. And they won't even ever hit the actual blockchain network. It'll all be handled as centralized transactions within the Bakkt custody service, the Bakkt warehouse. So that's my speculation. It's kind of my guess. I'm poking in the dark. I have no real clue. I have no real factual information to back up that supposition, that prediction I just made. But I got a feeling that those will be handled more through Bakkt's custody service in order to provide lightning fast transactions so that you don't go to Starbucks and have to wait 20 minutes in order for the transaction to get processed on the blockchain. That would not make sense, that would not work, and that would force this consumer app to be a failure. And Bakkt is not in the business to fail at the things that they do. So whether I'm right about it being part of their custody service or not, this consumer app is going to have to be much, much faster than the Bitcoin blockchain. And so I'm sure they already have a solution mapped out for it. Whether I'm right on what that solution is or not, they have to provide something that's going to be fast within seconds in order to process this transaction when somebody's just buying coffee. You know, because who wants to wait 20 minutes for the coffee to cool off and then get their cold coffee? Now, if you're buying cold coffee, that's a whole different dynamic, a whole different deal. So anyway, I'm done. How can I be of service to you? Do you have any questions, thoughts, comments, anything? I'd love to hear from you because the only way that you know things that I don't know, I know things that you don't know, and the only way that both of us can learn and grow is if we share what we know. And so please make comments below. I'd be happy to help you in any way that I can. In the meantime, like, subscribe, and hodl, and I hope that you have a fantastic day.